Welcome back to Market on Close. Shares of Micron are bouncing back with the rest of the memory names. Micron stock is still up over 30% on the year and definitely aiding some of the strength is today as we're up over 9% on the session.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, we did it. Second day in a row. If you remember what I said in my video yesterday, I said it was a great first step. We had a lot of shareholder value to gain back, and we needed to see a second step, a second day in a row, a little continuation. That's what I was looking for today, and we saw it. It was a fabulous day. You know what? It was a lovely day for the memory sector, because if you were watching the memory stocks today, you probably felt it looked like a strong continuation, but it wasn't just a continuation. In my mind, what we saw today wasn't just a change in price. It was a change in conviction, total conviction for the entire memory sector, for all of the Fab Four that we follow on this channel. We saw it at the end of the day yesterday. If you remember in my video, I said, look at that conviction that we see with Micron. Look at that accumulation at the end of the day. It was a different form. That line looked different. The graph looked different, how it finished the day, really with strong conviction. And the after hours were showing that. And the NASDAQ closing bell showed it to us. We saw the accumulation in the dark hours afterwards as well. And in the dark pool, and all pointed to we were going to come out of the gates firing at the opening bell. And we did. Micron performed today. So did SanDisk. So did Western Digital. So did Seagate Technology. It was a fabulous day for them all. Yesterday, we know that the market stepped back into memory. We saw it. It didn't step back in equally across the board. We knew it stepped back into SanDisk and the storage players early. Micron decoupled, but then it flipped in the afternoon and all the stocks rallied. They finished strong and they continued to pour it on today. It was great to see. It was welcomed to see. It's been a long time since we had two strong days like that in a row. So today's video, we're going to jump in and take a look at how all four of them performed. We'll look at what they're doing in the after hours and look at to see what headlines broke that may give us a sign or a signal that we're going to see this momentum carry forward into tomorrow as well. Can we do 3 days in a row? Drop your comment below. Let me know if you're bullish enough to say we'll have 3 days in a row of strong performance in the market, strong performance in the memory sector. Guys, if you haven't done it already, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm so appreciative of all of you. We passed our benchmark last night. You know, I said I wanted 5,000 subscribers to the channel. Well, we're up about 5,100 right now. So for those that took the time to hit subscribe yesterday, thank you. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I put out a video each and every day to bring knowledge and insights to you to hopefully make you a better, more informed investor. Let's jump in and take a look at what we saw today in the market. First, I want to pull up the graph we looked at yesterday, because as I mentioned, we saw green across the board yesterday. Now, it's not quite as green today as it was yesterday. We saw all of that capital rotate back into the market yesterday. Today's a little different. We see Microsoft down, but we do see a lot of green. And look at the really bright green. Those are the areas where we saw the largest movement, the most capital rotate. They were the biggest performers in the NASDAQ 100 today, and it was definitely the memory players. You see Micron in the middle. You see AMD, the chip provider, Intel. But look towards the bottom in the smaller squares there. You see Western Digital, and you also Seagate Technology. Strong performers across the day today as well. I want to jump in and show you each and every one. But first, I think we just have to take a step back and remember what we saw yesterday, because it set the stage for what we saw today. Remember, yesterday was a repositioning day for memory. Micron traded down at the beginning of the day. Remember, I said it was the most fascinating part, where it opened up about 321 and immediately went down to 311 while the other memory providers, while the other three in the group were growing. It wasn't a random move. It was the market reacting to real concerns around long-term pricing, shifting expectations, and uncertainty how AI demand translates into actual memory consumption. That early weakness forced capital into Western, Seagate, and SanDisk, which held up better. And they became more, in early session, they were the safer exposure within the memory group. We had that break within the memory group, which was fascinating to see. But then it flipped in the afternoon and they all took off. The move reset the positioning, I felt at the time. I still feel very strongly about it. It reset the positioning for the memory players yesterday. But it didn't remove risk. That was the piece I was worried about when I said, look at that conviction. Will we continue that momentum tomorrow? Because the risk wasn't removed. So coming into today's session, the setup was actually could have been a bit fragile for the memory players. Those concerns were still valid that hung over Micron. The concerns around TurboQuant, the concerns around the price target being moved down from Citi. And also we saw the DRAM prices, the spot pricing moving down. Those concerns were still valid in the market. So a logical move could have been a reset. It could have been like we could have seen some early weakness in those stocks, but we didn't. We saw strong performance across the board. Let's jump over and take a look at the performance that we actually did see yesterday. So I'm going to pull up a heat map first. That's on Yahoo Finance. And you can just see this is the biggest gainers of the day. Let me pull it up just to show you. So stocks, we're looking at a heat map, the top gainers today overall. And if you look here on the board, let me see if I can pull it up a little more to show you everything. You can see Micron was the biggest gainer today. Almost 9% growth, just followed by Intel overall. Intel had a fabulous day today as well. There was news that they reacquired some of their fab. So I think it's in Ireland overall. I have to recheck that story, but that was a positive sentiment for that stock and it moved it. But you can also see here, SanDisk, 9%, Western Digital, 10%, Seagate, 8%. Remember the poll I put out late last night was which stock will have the biggest gain today? Which one will have the biggest move or the greatest kind of repositioning of the four? Most of us picked Micron and SanDisk. Those were the top winners by far, but it was Western with a 10% gain that won the group. So congrats for those out there that were bullish enough to pick Western. It wouldn't have been my pick. I would have picked Micron as well, but all of them had a strong day. We even saw Marvell with a strong day today. Corning had a great day. They're becoming a big player in the optical space. Teradyne, big day as well. So strong day across the board for our memory providers. And I just want to show you one other thing. Let me pull this down. I'm going to change it back to the table view. And then let's just look at change here. And you can see the biggest movers from a dollar perspective. Who put the most points on the board, we'll say today. Lumentum was the highest, about a $62 gain today, about over an 8%. That stock has been on fire recently. We know that. They have just been performing so well. Look at that stock price now, $764. Right below it, SanDisk, second biggest day on today overall, about just over a $57 growth. And then down below, you'll see Seagate, Micron, Western. So in the top 10, we had all four, the Fab Four were all members of the top 10 today as highest performers across the board. Really strong day. The question is, can we continue it tomorrow? That's what we need to all look out for tomorrow. Is that performance going to carry? And there's a couple good stories I want to get to in a second for Micron specifically, as well as for Seagate, which I think gives us some momentum heading into tomorrow, and why I think we'll continue to see it. So let's jump over and just do a around the horn with all four of those Fab Four companies as well. So we're going to take a look at them and just see what they're doing in the after hours right now. We'll take a look at what the analyst sentiments are, what the fair value is, what the average price is for them. Has it moved? Has there been any new price targets overall for the company? So let's jump over. Let's start with Seagate, go in reverse order than I typically do. Here, let me change that view just so it makes it a little easier. Hopefully that's not too small for you guys, but you can see Seagate Technology, as I mentioned, $31 gain, closed at $423, up 8% in the after hours right now, about another 50 cents on top of it, a 0.12% increase. So stock is doing well. If we look over on the daily range right here, it ranged from 396 to 428. So it closed pretty on track with its its high for the day. If I go down and look at this scorecard, the fair value price for Seagate is $319. So it's a bit, from that perspective, oversold. We'll say it's overvalued right now. But if we look at the technical analysis, it's a strong buy. And the analyst sentiment continues to be a buy, with the analyst price target at $483. So about a 14% upside for Seagate overall. If I scroll down just to look, because I think there was a couple new price targets for Seagate today that I want to call out. And yeah, actually this week we had a couple new ones. So we had on the 29th, we see JP Morgan, they jumped to 525. So we're still about 24% upside from where they are today. And then just earlier this week, Bernstein put out a 620 price target, we're about a 47% upside for where the stock is trading today overall. So strong performance across the board for Seagate. Let's jump over and take a look at Western. Western up $27 today, 10%. It was the winner of the day, just under 300. We're all about 298 a share, and the after hours is staying flat. It's 5 cents down right now. It's holding very well for what the stock did today. The daily range, it broke the 300. It got up to about 305 today is the high. So can we get there again? Can we see a strong growth tomorrow out of the gate for it as well? If we look at Western's scorecard, company health is great. They're a little, again, they're at the fair. They're over their fair price of $259, but analyst sentiment is buy. Analyst price target is $328. So we still see about a 10% upside from the average analyst price target with this stock overall. But technical analysis, strong buy for Western. If we get over into SanDisk, remember, second biggest one of the day behind Lumentum, $57 gain, 9%, giving a little back right now in the pre-market. So that's about $1.80 that's given back, a quarter share point overall, still trading about $6.90. Look at the day range over here. It went from 645. I think SanDisk, let me look at it. It opened up at 652. It closed at 692, but you can see it reached a high of 710. So we're getting back to where we saw this stock perform just a few weeks ago, right before all of the craziness, right around that mid-March timeframe. If we look at the scorecard, company health is good. The upside, the fair price is 685. So we're just a little off that, about 5%. Technical analysis continues to be strong buy. Analyst sentiment is buy. Price target 770 with an upside of 11%. And I know I showed you yesterday, we have price targets at 1,200, 1,000 pretty consistently for SanDisk overall. I mean, I think SanDisk, as well as the other memory players, really benefited today from a few things. It was broader market relief rally that we saw with capital coming back in, fear and anxiety coming down. I mean, look at the VIX over here on the right. Remember, guys, that was like 31, 32 towards the end of last week. That is just a sign that we're seeing pressure be released in the market. Look at crude right above it, 98. We saw that up over 100. We know Brent crude came down today as well. I think it was about 101. What was that? 115, 117. So we're starting to see a lot of those big factors, those big kind of factors that affect the market, affect stocks, start to be released overall. But SanDisk was the rally. It was a renewed AI infrastructure optimism, and then falling energy prices. Those are the three notes I wrote down for those overall. But it's a strong day for them. And then let's jump over to Micron overall. Micron, just about a 9%. We see just under a $30 gain today. It was a great day for them. 367. We'll call that 368 on the day. In the after hours, putting another $2, 222 on the board. Well, 206 now. It just changed in real time. About a 0.5% growth. And we see the daily range went from 343 to 377 overall. From a scorecard perspective, Micron continues to be, look at this, undervalued. Despite all of the performance, the fair price for this stock is $472. It's 28% undervalued. That's the one differentiator with Micron from the other three in the Fab Four. At the fair price value, it's still significantly undervalued. Look at it, what the analyst sentiment is. The analyst sentiment is a strong buy. Their price target is $525 with about a 43% upside from where the stock is trading today. We had a little bit of news break today overall for them. We got a new price target for Micron, which was nice to see. So that came out actually last night, I would say, but it kind of hit the news cycle today. Cantor Fitzgerald, they raised their price target to $700 for Micron. It's a 90% upside from where the stock trades today. Guys, $700 price target. It's the largest one I've seen on the board so far. It is, I'm going to jump in and show you the article, but you can see strong buy from an overall consensus. Average 12-month price target, average is $525. That's right in the range that I've consistently thought. $500 to $550 would be the sweet spot, I think, to end the year. But they're saying $700, and let me show you why. I'm going to pull up that article right here. You can see it. Cantor Fitzgerald's article. It reiterated overweight by Cantor Fitzgerald. Still a top pick. So let's just dive in and see what they say in real time here, guys. So you can see it reiterated and set a price target of 700 here. There, on the other hand, shares trading with less than a 3.5x expected earnings per share. They are setting their earnings per share next year for calendar year 2027 at least $100 a share. I was doing some math, just looking at what the stock could do this year. And I think I had anywhere between 72 to 78 a share. They're expecting it to jump significantly overall. And he notes that we noted the concerns related to declining spot prices, but most of that was DDR4. And in their view, when they set this, they felt that spot price target for DD4 was inconsequential. They also fears over shipments. And then right here was a piece around Google's Turbo Quant. And I think what you could say here is kind of what we've been saying on the channel here is that the compression algos are par for the course, nothing new, and definitely not a change statement. In our view, and requirement to deliver cost savings to support Jevons paradox overall. So kind of what we're saying, efficiency is going to drive more demand for the memory players overall. And that's exactly what Cantor is saying here in the end. They're saying that the coming Q, or likely, he said, thus the coming Qs will likely be a tug of war with Micron's fundamentals moving higher, balance worries about sustainability of AI investments. And for us, we continue to believe in a elongated cycle where leading edge wafers, CoWoS, and growing HBM trade with the lack of clean room space and soon shortages in semi equipment will support a multi-year cycle. Thus, no change in our view from Cantor. Micron remains a top pick overall. So that's what was a big story that hit today. It was a big shift for Micron. There was a bit of, I would say, just to be fair, from a bearish perspective, I did see some concerns around Micron came out and said they're going to have to shift. They're going to have to increase their CapEx spending next year. Let me see if I can find that article, because we know what happened when we saw CapEx spending before with Micron. It definitely drove overall concerns for the stock. It was part of the reason it jumped down overall as well. So let me see if I can find that to you right here. Pull that over. And you guys can see that in real time here is that Micron accepts the bonds and they shares went up by 9%, but they plan a CapEx rise. And it's right down here at the bottom. Micron expects capital spending to significantly increase next fiscal year in 2027 to boost DRAM and NAND production capacity, planning higher investments to expand memory manufacturing capabilities. So that is a bit of a concern I think we have to keep our eye on, because we know how much the market reacted to that CapEx message that the CEO gave at the earnings call. So this has been out there in the market as well. And I think it's going to be some of the reason we saw some of the fluctuation in the middle of the day for Micron, because I do want to jump over and just take a look at their candle chart overall and what we could expect tomorrow from it. So let's pull that up. It's a 5-minute candle chart as we expected. The first thing I want to call out is, remember that we talked about that conviction? Well, there's that conviction yesterday down here. And this gives you any kind of sense and scale of what we saw today, which is different. Let me see if I can expand that a little bit, because that was in a massive sign at the end of the day yesterday, what I was super bullish about, what I thought we would continue. And just look how we started today. Look at that jump right out of the gate. In that first 5-minute candle, we opened at, remember, we closed yesterday at just under $3.38 a share. We opened over $11. We opened here at $3.49, reached $3.52 in the first 5 minutes, kind of settled back down, but we closed that first 5 minutes at $3.51. You can see it on the top of the screen. So that right there is almost a $13 gain in the first 5 minutes of trading. And then when it continued, but right here is a very strong conviction as well throughout the morning. This was what typically we would say gap and go. I would say it was a gap and get up and go this morning for what we saw in Micron in the first session overall. But this is the part where I was mentioning we saw some concern around just the CapEx and some other concerns that came out. I think we saw some profit taking here as well. I think for what we saw after the March 18th earnings and how much pressure was on the stock to see it release, to see it start putting momentum back on the board and start growing. There's no question in my mind. We had some weak hands about this point that let the stock go. They sold the stock overall. They were worried that we may see it shift back down and get retested back down to the next resistance level of probably 350 overall. But we saw a little bit in the afternoon, and then we found some support level here around the 367. Micron closed at 368 a share overall. A couple other things I want to call out is if you just look down below at RSI, I think this is part of the story as well. In a different, in the CapEx story that came out, the profit taking, but also I think some of the algorithms kicked in here. Look at that RSI level. It's technically in the oversell category. We're flirting right here about an 80 overall. And for those that follow RSI, we know that anything time it goes above 70, it triggers that the stock is oversold. And so I think we were seeing a little bit of that today also, with just this overselling, being in an overbought territory. Professional traders, algorithmic systems usually use these extreme RSI levels as a signal to trim the position. So as soon as that buying pressure slowed that we see right there, and the lack of kind of new chase buyers into the market, it allowed the stock to naturally drift back towards its moving average, and it found a more sustainable price floor. And you could see how the stock kind of settled down, trading right now at about, 30, about a 40 overall. So the question is there more? Is it going to go down again? It's certainly not in an oversold category. It's right about in the neutral category overall. So that's something I want to look at tomorrow. First, if we look at the volume dynamics, you can see in the morning down here on the screen how high those bars are. It clearly was a sign of two different tails of the tape from a volume perspective. In the morning, it was clearly strong conviction, heavy institutional buying that we saw. But in the afternoon, I think if you look at the red bars growing there, kind of the lull of volume we saw, and then the higher red bars, it clearly shifted more towards a profit taking from my perspective in the afternoon. I think the long-term bulls are still in control of this stock overall, though. But I do think the short-term traders were probably locking in some gains before the closing bell rang today, preventing that late day rally that we really wanted to see. I'm still very optimistic about this. I think stock spent the afternoon searching for support and is first searching for a support turn resistance level. It closed just about under that 370. To me, it signals that the market isn't quite ready to let it run away yet. Tomorrow may, in fact, be a bit of a battle to see if it can reclaim the 70 level at the opening bell tomorrow. If it can, I think we'll continue to gap further up. But if we see some pressure on the stock, we might see it shift down to that next support level of 360, maybe even 350 before we can rally again. And you might see some of this excitement wear off. You might see some more profit taking. So it'll be something interesting for us to watch tomorrow when the opening bell rings overall. But guys, I think today was a great day. We have to be excited for what we saw. Second day in a row. Can we carry the momentum forward for a third day? That's what I'm going to be looking at, because when we look at the sequence we saw today, this is the real insight for me. 2 days ago, the market was actively questioning the memory trade. Yesterday, it repriced it. We saw it. Micron took a little longer to be repriced than the other three, but it was a reset of positioning to a higher level. Today, the move was tested. That's what I wanted to see at the opening bell. Okay, we're going to test it and see if that conviction is still there. And it was. It didn't go lower. It outperformed. So as we go into tomorrow, I think the setup is very clear. For me, the question is no longer will the trade hold. The question now becomes, does it expand from here? How far can it expand from here? How quickly can it expand from here? Because if Micron leads the group tomorrow, it tells you that the market has fully absorbed the overhang or the concerns or the risks over this stock. If storage players continue to lead while Micron lags, it's telling us that capital is still being a little finicky. It's still being selective inside the trade. But either way, the key shift for the memory sector is already happening. It's underway. The signal in the past 48 hours was clear. Yesterday was all about getting back into memory. Today was about whether the move could hold under the pressure. And what the market showed us today was more than just stability. It showed us there was no new sellers. Stronger fundamental reinforcement with some of those price targets and messages that we saw. And also we continue to see macro conditions improving across the world. So in my opinion, guys, in closing, that wasn't just continuation today. That was conviction. That was a trade that just demonstrated that it got stronger, and it's looking to continue to get stronger even more. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Have a great day.